Hey everybody, Jose with Raiden Photos, back at it again with another Photoshop tutorial. And we're moving on to the next step in our retouching process after we did our frequency separation and our dodge and burn to add a little bit more depth into the photo. And if you remember, those three steps are focus, contrast, and color. And we're still working on contrast a little bit. Dodge and burn was kind of a lengthy step, so it got its own video. Um, but we're moving on to the next half of it. So we're going to start working on the eyes since they're one of the most important parts of the portrait, if not the most important part. This is where you want the focus to be. And the first thing you'll notice just looking at the photo is the eyes up close aren't necessarily that sharp in this photo. It's not really, out of focus. They're actually the focus is almost spot on her eyes. The issue is up close at about 200% zoom. They're a little bit foggy, and it's actually something that throws you off. You're pulled right into her eyes at the beginning, and then your eyes just kind of drift off to other things that have more detail, like her hair, and then you start looking at the background, and you completely lose focus on the photo and move on to the next one. And we don't want that, so we're going to increase the interest in her eyes a little bit. Let's get to work on that. And the first thing I'm going to do is add a little bit of sharpness. And an easy way to do that is actually to just take your high layer, because if you've ever accidentally deselected your low layer, you notice there's this like ridiculous boost in the sharpness to the point where it's a little too much. We're actually going to take advantage of that. So we're going to grab our high layer, we're going to hit Control or Command J and duplicate it. We're going to pull it out of that group and throw it up there. And now we have a copy of our high layer. This is going to be Sharpen Eyes. Boom. And you know what? I'm actually going to add a little bit of color to these layers real quick. So select this eye right here, and we're going to make it yellow. Make this one blue. We're going to make the Sharpen Eyes one green. I'm actually going to group it right now ahead of time. Eyes. Boop. This is our eyes group. Sweet. Everything in this group is going to be green. So the sharpen eyes thing, everything is super, super sharp. Let me zoom in here. Everything is overly sharp. So let's reduce the opacity of the sharpen eyes layer, our copy of our high layer. And we're going to go down to as low as we can, 0, so we can really watch this change. Let's go to 10%. That's a little better. 20%. Not quite there yet. 30, almost. It's still a little foggy. Yeah, 40, 45. Let's go with 45. 45 looks good. This is almost like the clarity slider. You know what? 45 is a touch overboard. Let's go with 41. 40. That's perfect. And now what we're going to do, since we are only focusing on the eyes, we don't want to sharpen the entire photo for obvious reasons. We're going to add a layer mask. So actually, a good way to add a layer mask without having to flip it later is hold Alt or Option and click the layer mask button. It's going to add a black layer mask, so it completely covers the effect, and you can actually paint it in on your own now. So we're going to grab a brush tool. We're going to set the opacity to 70%. Just hit the number 7 on your keyboard, and it'll change your opacity to 70%. And we're going to draw in white. Make sure you have the default colors and white as your primary color by hitting X and flipping it. And now we're going to draw with 70%, just large enough of a brush to fit the eye in there. We're just going to draw without lifting up or without letting go of the mouse, 70% over the eye. There we go. And you should lift up before you cross over the nose, in case you were still holding it. So there we go. We have a little bit of boomification, sharpness in the eyes there. Sweet. That draws us right in there. Now, what else do we need? We need a little bit of change in depth in order to pull us into the eye a little more. And a good way to do that is to actually brighten the entire area around the eye itself down into the highlight of the eye. And we're going to do that by adding whoop, a little dodge and burn layer here. Actually, you know what? Let's try a different way because Photoshop has a bunch of options for us. We're actually going to grab a adjustment layer right here in the adjustments, and we're going to grab a curves adjustment layer, and we're going to grab right here in the middle, and maybe a little bit off to the side, and we're just going to boost that up about that much. Looks good. Yeah, that should be good. All right. And now we're going to select the layer mask, hit Control I, and flip it into the black. And now right here, we're going to paint it in. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to switch our brush to 5%. So 0.5. Actually, you know what? Let's do 10%. Actually, no. You know what? 5%. 5% is good. So we have 5% brush, and we are going to start out with a large brush, just like your dodge and burn, just over the area of the eye, maybe a little bit smaller. Depends on how you want the effect, how subtle you want the effect to be. So right about here is good. And then we're just going to tap with white and shrink the brush as we get closer to the highlight of the eye. So, boop, 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 boop. Okay. And we're going to do it to the other eye real quick. This one's slightly in shadow, so it might need a little bit more. There we go. Shrink the brush down to the highlight. And now you'll see the effect is really, 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 really subtle. Really subtle. In fact, I might add a little bit more of it. And you can do that one of two ways. You can add a little more of the brush, or you can go right in here and just adjust this curve a little bit more to get more of that effect. Personally, I like to just adjust the curve. It keeps it nice and subtle since I didn't do too much of it in the first place. And right about there looks good. Check that out. Nice and subtle. A nice and subtle little pop in the eyes. Great. There we go. Pulls your eye right up there. Quick little thing I just noticed. It's actually kind of bugging me. I'm going to take care of it real quick. Grab my stamp tool. Sweet. All right, that's all set. A little bit of OCD there. All right, so we did our eye brightening. And now we want to add a little bit of a dodge and burn to the eyes. So, I'm actually going to make the black stand out a little bit more. Let's grab another curves adjustment layer. Right here. Let's put a dot right here so that that doesn't change too much. Grab right here and just pull down until it's nice and dark. Right about there. And now, while the layer is still visible, we're going to double click out here in this empty space. And it's going to open up the layer style panel, which is going to let you adjust where this layer is, where this adjustment layer is actually visible. And what we want is, we want it to only be visible in the midtones. want it to only be visible in the midtones. So we're going to grab right here, hold the Alt key. You can see it in the little tooltip there. Pull this up. Actually, no, we're going to grab this one, pull it down until it kind of takes it out of the picture and you see this weird pixely effect. And you're going to bring it down until it takes it out of your highlights a little. And then you can expand it out like so. Now it's not going to be visible in your highlights and it's going to blend out into your darks. That's going to darken anything dark in the photo. So there we go. And then you're going to flip this, Control I, that way it doesn't show up everywhere in the photo, just where you want it to. Grab your brush tool, set it to white, and the opacity, let's go with a 20%. Selected. 20% opacity should be good. And then we can pretty much just brush right over wherever we want. Darken that right up. Exaggerate it a little bit. Go in here real quick. I think I might have pushed this a little bit too far. There we go. Okay. So that gave us the 20%. All the darks got boosted a little bit. And we have a little more contrast in her eyes, which is great. Brightness is still there. This one I'm actually going to tone down a little bit, down to 75%, so that it's not super, super dark. I'm actually going to tweak this just a little bit. There we go. We have a little bit of contrast in her lash line and eyes. Now I want the iris to get a little boost, a little enhancement in color and contrast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a blank layer like so. And we're going to brighten the eye. I'm actually going to pop this on top right here. We're actually going to brighten the eye and darken the eye by using this layer. And we're going to change the layer blending mode here to overlay. It's a completely blank layer. We're going to change the opacity to 100 and the flow to something like 5%. Yeah, something like 5%. And then you're just going to scratch away with a little bit of black around the outside edge of her eye. Hardness? Yeah. Bit of dark right around the edge and over the highlight up here. You can switch to white and just color over the highlight itself to boost it. Do that over here on this side as well. And a little bit of a dark edge here. And then I'm going to switch the color to a color selected out from her eye. And I'm going to boost the saturation and lightness of the color itself. Somewhere around here should be good. Make the brush very, very small and just draw some jagged little shapes inside of her eye. That's the kind of stringy look that color in the iris actually has. So you want to duplicate that. I'm going to do that same color over here. There we go. I'm going to grab this color. There it is. It's kind of like orangey brown. Add a couple of those in. Right on top of there. Mix them right in over the blue. There we go. And that's going to add that look. Great. And another thing you can do is also add a bit of a blur to what you just did. Gaussian blur. Let's add 4. That'll make it a little less obvious, excuse me, that we did anything to the eyes. Let's see a quick before and after of the whole group. See how the eyes stand out. There's a lot more contrast, brings your eye right to them. So like, try looking out here in this blurry spot, and out of the corner of your eye, you'll actually notice the change. And it kind of like it makes your brain want to come right back up here, which is exactly what the goal of this whole edit was. So we're all set with the eyes, and we can move on to the next step, which is color toning to bring a lot more interest and pull into the photo. And that's going to add a little bit more contrast as well. So we'll see you guys in the next video for that little tidbit of information. Hope you guys liked the video. Let me know in the comments if you have any other questions, or on my Instagram or Twitter at Raiden Photos. And I'll see you guys in the next video.